Hello, I'm Dave, and this week a new Xbox has been unveiled. I haven't got an Xbox, I like them, but haven't got one. When you do your gaming in short bursts between editing stuff on a PC, it's cheaper in the long run just to be a PC gamer. Oh, I tell a lie! I said I didn't have an Xbox, but I was talking about Xbox 360. I have got an old Xbox One, somewhere in the attic, presumably. I just never really figured out what to do with it, and I'd only just got my Xbox One when they announced Xbox 2, or Xbox 360, and then when they brought out Xbox 360 I couldn't afford it, so Xbox One I kind of neglected, Xbox 2 I completely missed, and well, now there's going to be an Xbox 3, so perhaps I'll have that. Because this week they unveiled Xbox 3, Xbox One. Which means, okay, another name has to go. Now I have to stop saying Xbox One when I mean the original Xbox. That's fine. And it's not without precedent, is it? I mean, when PlayStation 2 came out and Sony realised they could still sell PlayStation 1, they brought out the PlayStation 1, which meant that from then on, whenever you called the PlayStation 1, everyone assumed you were talking about the PlayStation 1. So you had to instead say PlayStation. But when you said PlayStation, everyone thought you meant the PlayStation 2, when really you meant the PlayStation 1. But not the PlayStation 1, that's something else. And so it will be with Xbox One. When I was talking about how we call our Xbox 360s just our Xboxes, you were probably sitting there going, no, I call it my 360 actually. Well, that's all well and good, and yeah, loads of people do that, but we can't do that here. We can't just call this One, and we certainly can't call it the One. So when this becomes the main Xbox, we're all just going to call it Xbox instead of Xbox One, which is going to be tricky, because then it means anytime we do need to talk about the Xbox One, or Xbox, everyone's going to think we're talking about the Xbox One, or Xbox. So, gamers are going crazy about this Xbox One launch video, because, judging by this presentation alone, the Xbox One doesn't really appear to be a games console, or at least there was some strategic reason to make it appear not to just be a games console. Unfortunately, the thing that they are making it look as if it is seems a bit out of date. I mean, don't get me wrong, this looks like a great way to watch TV. But is that something we all want to do? Maybe there's a great big audience for the stuff they were showing off here, but it was gamers who were watching, so it's strange that they didn't really address them at all. Did you know it took 29 minutes to actually see a game in this presentation? Which was a real surprise. I mean, we were expecting game-based stuff. Gamers are getting angry because Xbox One looks like it might not be relevant to gamers. Or is it the other way around? Are gamers not relevant to the Xbox One? But some people are getting angry, and I think that's a step too far. Come on, they did say that this was not the event where they're going to be showing off their games. That's in 3 weeks' time at E3, so let's just settle down and wait for that. But it was unusual that a lot of the conference seemed to be focused on television, from the way you can watch it through your Xbox One, to the way certain games are going to interact with it, through to Halo being made into a TV series, which acclaimed director and Pong player Steven Spielberg is prepared to have his name written near to. That's fine, and it's great for TV fans. Well, no, TV fans are already happy. It's great for people who like the concept of TV but don't like operating a remote. For them, great. For Xbox fans? See, if you look at what's on offer here, we have a conference aimed at people who watch a lot of TV and love sports. Okay, well, if you think of someone who watches TV a lot and loves sports, you're probably getting an idea of someone in your mind, and it's not the same as the stereotypical gamer. It's similar, but it's not the same. So why was this conference aimed entirely at them, or the non-stereotype real-life version of them anyway? I wonder if this might not be Microsoft reacting to what Nintendo did during the last console generation. I mean, they opened up a whole new market, and businesses love those. Who was into Wii and DS? Again, dealing in stereotypes. You're not looking at kids or gamers anymore, you're looking at families, led by mums and grands. Well, maybe this is aimed at families led by dads. Dads who watch a lot of TV and like a lot of sports. Could be. I mean, that's who this event seems to have been aimed at, right? I don't know, it seems a bit outdated though. I mean, dads right now, they're about my age really, aren't they? And we're the generation that kind of grew out of TV. Rather than just rant or be angry like some people did, I wanted to find out what it was about this conference that made it not for me, because it wasn't for me. Without hating on the Xbox One, this conference had nothing that interested me. Why did this conference feel as if it was talking to people from a completely different world to me? I mean, this thing about how it operates TV, that sounds like a good solution to a problem, right? So why am I not excited about it? When I was young, in my first few years of life, the TV was the most exciting piece of tech in the house, and it was right there in the living room, making the living room the main room of the house. And it was completely blown out of the water when we finally got a VCR in one of my first years at school. Suddenly, forget TV. The living room was better now. Watching stuff when it happened to be on, done. thing of the past. Now, TV was forever. You could own a film, you could videotape a TV program and you had it forever. I've still got my videos. It actually panned out that you had it forever. But as exciting as that felt, it was just an upgrade of TV. It wasn't like a big jump. It wasn't a total change. Not like what happened next. Games! In our house we got a computer first, but when the consoles came along, suddenly the living room was in the future. TV and video were over. Now we had games. The games console was the most exciting piece of tech in the living room, and the video and the TV, they were just assumed. You had to have those. Since then, with every new generation of consoles, there's never quite been that huge leap again. You know, it's been the same as TV to VHS, the same thing, but better. And now, just as we're all wondering what could happen next, as we're all starting to wonder, how can they impress us with a new console generation, really? You know, now that graphics are kind of leveling out and they're good no matter what console you have. What do? What's the next big generational leap that makes the games console the most exciting thing in the living room, the thing that made us stop caring about TV, even better? They added TV. They're adding stuff we're not excited about anymore. The stuff that games consoles replaced in our hearts as the most exciting thing. They're putting that in the games consoles and they're asking us to accept that as the big game changer. They're asking us to be really, really excited about that. Well, yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, it's a good thing, no doubt. Yeah, this should happen. But I can't get excited about it. It's odd that it was the main thing they were pushing. You know, if it was a detail, yeah. If it was something we found out that it could do after the big excitement about all the new gaming stuff died down, then yeah. But instead it was the whole show. I mean, they mentioned some games, but not really. It was all about the TV stuff. The stuff that we've grown out of. Now, we gamers like to complain, don't we? But really, when it comes down to it, we understand why, from a business perspective, a lot of the choices are made that are made. By the way, yes, different clothes. This is the third time I've tried to record this, so it's on a different day. This is because I need to buy a new camcorder. You see, the setup I've got here is... That's a tangent, I'll tell you about it another time. It makes sense, from a business perspective, why Microsoft would want to make their new Xbox a media hub. I heard a couple of people say that Microsoft aren't even competing against Sony this time. They're competing against Apple and Google in the race to get a media hub into the living room that people actually use. By making the Xbox One take care of everything that you want to do with your TV, and by making the whole point of it that you never have to even use your other TV inputs, and let's face it, swapping between TV inputs really is a daily grind. Microsoft are onto a really clever thing. I mean, loads of people will buy Xbox One, and all of those people will discover that they don't need a competing TV box. So they won't buy one from Apple, or Google, or whoever else, and if you look at the market leaderboards, Microsoft's name will slip to the top and those other companies will slip underneath it, and so it all makes sense from a business perspective. But I don't care about a business perspective. I don't have a business perspective. I don't have a stake in these companies. I'm just a consumer. And I'm sick to the back teeth of that thing that we do on the internet where we say, but it makes sense from a business perspective, whenever something we don't like happens to a franchise that we do like. See, I told you there's tea in this. You didn't believe me. Can we please stop saying that to each other? We all understand the business perspective, we just don't care. It doesn't console us when something bad happens. I'm not saying TV integration into Xbox One is a bad thing. Clearly, it's going to be an improvement over normal TV. It's going to make it much, much easier to watch TV channels. Which I don't. So this conference wasn't aimed at me. That's fine, plenty of things aren't. But I have to admit, I did wonder who it was aimed at. There was so much business speak and jargon. It was like sitting on a board meeting at someone else's company wondering who in this room responds to phrases like these. Oh, maybe I'm being too cynical. I mean, what about that thing where when you're playing a game and you've just done something really, really good and you went, oh wow, that was great, I wish everyone could have seen it. The Xbox has been filming the last few seconds, so all you have to do is go, Xbox, publish that, and it'll upload it to YouTube. That's great, isn't it? I mean, that's just a good thing. How can we be cynical about that? It's just the timing of it, though. The timing of it is interesting because it does come just a couple of weeks after Nintendo have established a precedent where if you upload YouTube videos of their games, they get paid. But that was very recently, so Microsoft couldn't have known about it when they were making their system, but the infrastructure that allowed Nintendo to set it up in the first place did already exist, so perhaps Microsoft had anticipated it. Maybe they were going to do it first, with the Xbox One. And if Microsoft were in a position to hear another coin landing in the money bank anytime anyone uploaded a few seconds of footage of one of their games to YouTube, maybe it would make sense for them to present it as one of the main features of their No, I don't like thinking this way. I don't like being one of those super cynical, complainy sort of gamers. But then, maybe that's what I didn't like about this conference. The conference and the details we've been hearing since have made me think about the Xbox One in this cynical way. I want to be excited about a new generation of games consoles. I don't want to be worried about which of the ways I usually like to play games they're going to take away, because the countdown to the Xbox One is beginning to feel a lot like the countdown to that moment we've all been dreading when the copyright lobbyists finally win the Cold War they've been fighting against us over whether or not when we buy a game we actually own it, or if we've just been given a kind of condescending permission to play it for now. At the time I'm recording this, the details aren't fully known, but it's looking a lot like ownership of games is going to be tied up in complicated ways to the person who bought it. The long and short of which is that Xbox One is going to be based largely around having Xbox Live accounts, or some equivalent, and that they're finally taking away from us that thing that we all do, where we play a game, we like it, we finish it, we think, my friend would like that, and we give it to that friend to play. Microsoft are dropping hints about a kind of lending fee that friend is going to have to pay, and the rumour, and I don't believe this rumour, because it's crazy, but the rumour is that it's going to be $35, which, when you convert it into English money using the same systems that most games manufacturers do, that comes to £35. And it can't be true, because that'd be crazy. Apparently though, Microsoft have commented on this, and it's all right. The friend that you lent the game to won't have to pay the fee. The shop he got it from will. What shop? So, until we get more information from Microsoft, it's still up in the air as to whether, let's say, a couple who got together recently and have their own established separate gamer tags can buy a game and both play it without one of them having to pay a second time. Or whether a parent who's a gamer and whose contact list is full of the usual suspects can play through a game, check that it's alright, and then let their child play it using the contact list that just has, approved people on it, members of an extended family or trusted friends, without paying more for the privilege than, if I'm being honest, I'm prepared to pay for a game in the first place. Which, by the way, is one answer to the Steam rebuttal. Yep, PC gamers have indeed been used to this for a while. Our Steam collections cannot be lent or sold on. But it kind of makes up for this by letting us buy our games for less than a fiver in the first place. Of course, that's still not an acceptable lending fee. The urge to lend is something that should be celebrated and promoted, sharing what we own being the basic unit of kindness and civilization. But the price of a game during a good Steam sale is so low that it really does soften the blow of some of the drawbacks considerably. I mean, if Xbox One has sales where you can buy its best games for less than a tenner, I'll say the same about it. By the way, does the lighting look different? Yeah, that's what happens when you have to film half the video in the evening because your camera... It's a tangent, I'll talk about it another time. And what about those user accounts? According to these guys, you're going to be able to keep your Xbox Live or Gold account, whatever you have, and it'll function exactly the same on the Xbox One. Yeah, they're really not fixing that. You still have to pay for online. And the only reason that doesn't sound crazy to us is that it was invented when the Xbox was not a lens through which to look at internets. And that is what the Xbox One is going to be. It's going to be the window through which you look at your cloud content. Now, we don't know how much of that cloud is going to be locked behind your Live account or your Gold account, but it's pretty clear that Xbox One without Live is going to be next to useless. To keep charging for that when it's such an important part of what the system is, unless Live accounts are going to have things like cable TV and Netflix thrown in, which they might, you're going to be paying money in order to pay money in order to watch TV. And all your saved games, they're going to be in the cloud as well, and presumably various other data you amass, like maybe games you buy online. So does that mean that if you stop paying for your Live account at any time, is that all going to go away, or...? Now, another interesting thing about this reveal conference thingy is that it was actually delayed by a month, which usually means that there's a month worth of stuff they have to figure out before it's ready. But this time, people were thinking that it was probably because they'd heard the criticism that was being aimed at them after the rumours about the always online stuff got out. But judging from the tone of the conference, that doesn't seem to really be the case. So I wonder what it was that they actually were doing for that month. Now, a friend of mine, back when they first announced that the conference was being delayed, he had a good idea. He said, what if it's that the entire marketing strategy for this new Xbox is based around the phrase always online, or something similar to that? And it could have been. That'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it? If they were gearing up to sell us this thing on the concept that it's always online, and then they find out at the last minute that we hate that idea. Maybe the name was originally Xbox On. Because that'd be a good name for it, wouldn't it? Because it's what you say when you go into the room to wake it up. Xbox On. Perhaps they had to change all the signs just by painting E's onto it. And that took a month, apparently. Oh, but this has ended up being a very negative video, and I didn't mean it to be. I don't hate the idea of the Xbox One, and all of these things that it does, they're all perfectly fine. It's just I didn't understand the conference. I'd like to understand why they decided to go with these things, who they were aiming it at, what it was all about. But we'll wait and see, because in 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever it is, we'll have E3 and we'll find out about the games. And doubtless there'll be loads of them and doubtless they'll be good, and then we can all be happy and we can all like the Xbox again. And PC gamers have loads to look forward to, because now, for the first time in years, the consoles are going to be pretty much on par with our PCs. I'm going to have to upgrade. I've got 8GB of RAM in here, and that's how many the PlayStation 4 uses just to run the games. Never mind the fact that I've got to run Windows as well. Of course, indie games that don't use AAA graphics are coming along in leaps and bounds. They're probably the most exciting thing about gaming right now. But secretly, we are all excited by better graphics as well, so we'd like to see that happen, and yeah, it's going to happen. So here's to E3, and to the time beyond E3, and how we're all going to have a very nice time yelling at each other and being angry and playing games. And until then, goodbye! Log off! La 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 la, a triple dick la la.